Guys, welcome back to Refining with Jessie, the life coach. So today we're going to be talking about 8 things that you should be mindful of, because once they are out in the air and you have put them out into the universe, they are so hard to retract and take back. So number 1 is when you are going through something difficult, you want to make sure that you mind your emotions. Minding your emotions is going to be so important for you. Why? Because once our emotions get so out of control and we lose control of them and they become in control of us, it becomes harder and harder and harder for ourselves to get grounded, for ourselves to see clearly, for ourselves to make clear decisions, for ourselves to have a clear perspective. It is super hard. So you want to make sure when you're going through something difficult that you are minding your emotions and trying your best to stay grounded. Depression, anxiety, victim mentality, that all stems from our emotions taking over and getting the best of us. So you got to make sure whatever you're going through that you stay grounded and mind those emotions. When you are surrounded by friends, you want to make sure you are minding your speech, your tongue, and what you are communicating. It is so easy when people get together to get into that back and forth with gossip. It's very easy for people to start spilling other people's personal information. You know, you have that friend or someone who's confided in you. You get together around other friends and you start spilling their information, their private stuff that they have shared with you. So you want to make sure when you are with friends that you are minding your speech and what you are saying. When you are surrounded with a group, you mind your behavior. A lot of times when people get together in groups, a lot of people like to start criticizing, like to start belittling. They like to start humiliating others without even realizing it. They start teasing and name calling, and that's not a good look to have. You want to make sure that you're keeping your behavior in check. You know, that person that you probably get around and it's like, oh my God, look at him, what he has on, you know, how much did he pay for this? Or, you know, look at those cheap shoes they have on. You want to be mindful of that type of behavior that stems from insecurity. So you want to make sure you're checking that within yourself. And you also want to make sure you're checking that within the group that you are with. You want to make sure that if somebody around you is doing that to another, you know what? Be brave and call it out. Call it out, because it's inappropriate behavior and nobody should ever feel objected to another humiliating them or belittling them in front of other people. You know, a lot of people claim that this behavior is just teasing or being honest, but the truth of the matter is that it is rude and it's humiliating to the other person to be called out in front of a group of people. It feels like you're being attacked, you know? So if you see this within your group or somebody else's group, call it out. Don't be afraid to call it out. It's inappropriate. And you know what? Once behavior is out there, it's so hard to take back. Once you hurt someone's feelings with your behavior, it's something so hard to take back. So you want to be mindful of the behavior you're spilling out. When you're in a group and then others start showing off, you know, you want to be mindful of that. You want to be mindful of how you're treating others when you are around other people. Nobody wants to be, you know, treated one way when you're in private and then you get into a group and then you're treated a whole different way. You know, if you have someone who treats you one way in private and then treats you another way in front of a group of people, their behavior starts changing. That stems from insecurity and feeling like I gotta show off and I gotta portray something I'm not. You know, I gotta act like the big man or the big woman that takes nobody's crap, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that nobody's treating you like that, and you also want to make sure that nobody's treating others like that in your group. So be mindful of that, because once it's out there, it's out there. When you are alone, you want to make sure you are minding your thoughts. You want to make sure that you are not speaking down to yourself. You want to make sure you're not having a negative thoughts. You don't want to go into that tailspin. It's so important that when you are alone, you are not beating your own self up. You're not getting down on yourself. You're not belittling yourself. You're not criticizing yourself. You got to be mindful of the things that you are telling yourself, your self-talk. You also want to be mindful of your thoughts. If they're consistently negative, if you can't find the beauty in anything, you know, you want to be mindful of that, because once you start going down that spiral of everything is negative, it could get out of control really quick and become the norm of how you speak to yourself. So when you are alone, be mindful of your thought process. When you are angry, mind your temper. And this is a big one. A lot of people feel like when I'm upset, I'm going to say what I have to say, no holds bar. But you got to be mindful if that's a relationship relationship and a person that you value and you want to keep in your life, and you want to correct the behavior, you want to get to a place that you're compromising, you want to be mindful of what you are telling other people when you are upset. When you are angry, mind your temper. As human beings, we tend to use the people closest to us as emotional punching bags. We tend to take them for granted, and we tend to believe that we can tell them and speak to them in any way, form, or fashion we please. And you know what? That is not true. A lot of the times, people believe like sticks and stones, the old saying, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never harm you. Well, you know what? I beg to differ. I think words can kill. You know what? You could break someone's heart by just one word, and you could break a relationship by just one word. When words are out there, they are out there. When you put them out there and, they hurt someone to the core, they break someone's heart, damage could come over that relationship that could never, ever be repaired. They might forgive you, but they might never forget. It's like breaking a plate. If you take, a plate or a mirror, let's say a mirror, you take a mirror and you break it, you know what? You might be able to piece it back together. But once you put that mirror back together, there's always going to be cracks. You're always going to see cracks. Yeah, the mirror is going to serve its purpose. You're going to be able to see your reflection in it, but it's never, ever going to be the same. And if you say sorry to the mirror, you know what? That's not going to change anything. It's not going to change that the mirror broke. It's not going to change the cracks. The same thing with a plate. You break a plate, you glue it back together. The plate is never going to be the same. It might seem like it's functioning in the same capacity. You might be able to eat off of it, but the plate is never the same, right? And if you say sorry to the plate, guess what? Those cracks are still going to be there. So you have to think of people like that. You have to think of how you deal with people like that. Sometimes one word that leaves your lips can do so much damage that, it is what it is. And once it's out there, you can't take it back. You can't take those words back. Even if you say sorry, it's not going to heal the heart, if you cause damage to another. So be very mindful of how you are speaking to people when you are angry, your speech, especially people closest to you. Like I said, we tend to take people for granted that are closest to us, or we feel that connection to us, right? So spouses, friends, boyfriend, girlfriends, mother, father, siblings, your daughter, nieces, nephews, whoever's closest to you, those are the people that we tend to talk to like it's okay. We could say whatever we have to say to them, and no matter what, they will accept us and they will forgive us. But sometimes you do so much damage that the other person doesn't want to deal with you no more. So be mindful of how you treat people when you are angry. I need to take a sip of tea because I've been feeling sick, so bear with me. So the next one is, when you're presented with options, be mindful of what you are loyal to. And this is a big one, right? Especially when you're talking about human interaction. You know what? There's always going to be a lot of options. As a female, you might have a lot of men who come up to you or are attracted to you, and vice versa for men. Men, there's always beautiful women that's going to be around, and those are going to be options possibly, right? But you always got to consider, who are you loyal to, or who has a loyal heart? Options are always going to be options, but not all of those options are good for you. And so that's with anything in life. I just used, a human interaction, human relations as an example, but that's with anything, jobs. You might have a bunch of options in jobs. You might have a bunch of options on what, road that you can go down, what path you could go down. It's always going to come down to what you are loyal to, or what is going to provide you with loyalty, right? So be mindful of how loyalty plays out in your options. When you are presented with a lot of options, loyalty is going to be the one thing that is not going to fade. So you want to be mindful of that. What are you loyal to? What do you want to be loyal to? What is going to provide you with loyalty? When you are in a crowd, be mindful of who stands out and was there before that crowd came along. And that's a big one, right? So in life, there's going to be times that we might be rocking alone, and we might have a loyal person, a loyal friend, a loyal family member, whoever it is that stands by us and supports us and helps us with whatever we need. And then as time goes on, our crowd gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And sometimes people forget who was rocking with them before this crowd came along, before they got all this attention, before they became, the man or the woman, right? So you have to be mindful of that. You got to be mindful of not taking people for granted. Whoever is giving you and investing their time and energy into you, that's something that should be treasured. That's something that should be valued. Not everybody is willing to give such an expensive gift. And that's exactly what it is. It's an expensive gift. When people give you their time, when people make time out of their day to speak to you, when people make time out of their lives to be around you, when people are giving you their energy, when people are seeing the value in you, when people are giving you any type of time and you are occupying time in their life, you want to make sure that you are mindful. You want to make sure that you are mindful of that. So when that crowd comes along, you don't get distracted, you don't get lost, you don't get swept up in things that at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. You want to make sure that you're not taking people for granted, and the loyalty and love and respect and value that they have given to you, that you're not stomping all over it. Because once it's gone, it's gone. Once you lose a good person, you lose them. Once a good person has had enough and they leave, guess what? You might never get them back. So you want to make sure that when that crowd comes along, that you are still mindful of the people in your life who've been there for the beginning and who have showed you love and who have given you that expensive gift of their time and energy. When you start receiving blessings from the universe, from spirit, from whoever you believe is giving you these blessings, you want to make sure that you are minding your ego. And that's a huge one. A lot of the times when people are blessed with monetary gifts, they are blessed with any kind of abundance, friends, people surrounding them, attention, whatever it may be, they tend to forget of how beautiful that blessing is, and they start getting to feel entitled. They start feeling entitled to things, and their ego gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the easiest way to start taking people for granted. That's the easiest way to start losing yourself. That's the easiest way to get wrapped up in self-centeredness. That's the easiest way to start getting wrapped up in control issues, and it goes on and on and on and on. So you definitely want to make sure that you are keeping that ego in check. Remember, blessings are blessings. Not everybody has been blessed and given whatever you have been given. And gifts in abundance could be anything. Gifts in abundance don't only mean monetary value. And a lot of people get that confused. If you're stuck in the earthly planes and only think that blessings come in the form of monetary value, you're already lost. Because that is not the case. Blessings are anything from the food on your table to the friends that you keep. Like I said, time and energy is an expensive gift. So anybody that invests in you and allows you to take up that time and gives you space within their heart or their life, that's an expensive gift, and that is a blessing. Family members, they are a blessing. Having a roof over your head is a blessing. If you own a car, that's a blessing. That's not only a blessing, but those are luxuries. Not everybody has these specific blessings. So whatever blessings and abundance that you have in your life, definitely treasure them. Make sure that you are giving thanks for those blessings, and make sure that you don't start living in your ego and start thinking that you are entitled to it, because no one's ever entitled to anything, especially if you haven't earned it. Because there's a lot of people that just, walk upon blessings, and honestly, they haven't earned it. So if you're one of those people who have been blessed in life, definitely treasure it, and always make sure to be mindful of that ego. Because just the way somebody, powers above, have given you some type of blessing, whether it's a person, whether it's a thing, whether it's money, whether it's happiness, whether it's a career, a job, whatever it has been, and they gift it to you, it could also be taken from you. And whatever position you are in today, you might not be in 10 and 15 years, especially if you are not treasuring and thanking every single day for the blessings that have been bestowed upon you. So always remember that. Those are just a few things to consider and be mindful of. I think, through the hustle and bustle through life, we tend to forget certain things that mean the most to us. But we always have to remember that we have to always reflect on our behavior and how we treat and deal with others, and the energy that we are putting out into the universe. Remember, you always want to put happy, beautiful, considerate, and compassionate energy out into the universe. So guys, that is all I have for you today. Always remember to be mindful of your behaviors and the words that are coming out of your mouth, because once they're done, they're done. You can't take it back. You can't, retreat it back. You can't say, oops, that was a mistake. Let me try again. Sometimes an apology does not heal all wounds. So you want to make sure that you're spilling positive, happy, compassionate, and thoughtful words and behaviors onto others. So be mindful of that. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.